Hello, folks. This story was sent to me by a subscriber and is intended for educational purposes only. Thank you for watching. 800 mg Mescaline. The day the cacti invited me to tea, I never imagined that a dose of 800 milligrams of mescaline would turn my backyard into a high society desert gala. But that Saturday proved me wrong in the most delightfully bizarre way. It started with me stepping outside at noon, the sun already making the succulent leaves glisten. I popped a capsule, expecting a mellow journey. You know, the usual kaleidoscopic colors, deep thoughts, a little giggle fest. But this trip had its own agenda. Within 40 minutes, the towering prickly pear cactus in the corner of my yard started humming softly. At first, I thought the sound came from a neighbor's radio. But nope, it was definitely the cactus. The humming quickly turned into a song. Then, to my astonishment, the cactus began to sprout tiny arms, almost like a marionette ready to dance. It waved at me, or maybe it was trying to get my attention. So I awkwardly waved back. Suddenly, from all over the garden, the cacti and succulents started waking up. The aloe vera blinked slowly and stretched its spiky leaves like a cat waking from a nap. The little jade plant twirled its branches as if it were performing ballet, and the agave plants began swaying rhythmically. I rubbed my eyes to make sure I wasn't hallucinating a full-on desert dance party. Then the prickly pear called out in a deep, surprisingly British accent, "Good afternoon, kind human. Care to join us for tea?" I blinked again, half expecting the plants to burst out laughing, but they were utterly serious. In the middle of my yard, a tiny table had appeared, complete with a delicate porcelain tea, set decorated with cactus motifs. There was even a teapot shaped like a blooming saguaro. Feeling both ridiculous and inexplicably honored, I sat down. The aloe vera poured the tea. Or rather, it tilted its thick leaf, and somehow the tea flowed into my cup. The taste was unlike any tea I'd had before. A mix of earthy desert minerals and sweet blossoms, calming yet invigorating. The plants each took their turn to speak, telling stories of the desert's secrets. The agave shared tales of ancient spirits who danced beneath the stars, while the jade plant spoke of lost travelers who found solace in the desert's embrace. Midway through, a small prickly pear rolled itself forward like a bull and announced it was the official jester of the garden. It launched into a series of pun-filled jokes about cacti and succulents. Like, why did the cactus break up with the rose? Because it was tired of all the prickly behavior. I laughed harder than I had in weeks, the absurdity of it all washing over me like a warm breeze. As the afternoon progressed, the garden transformed further. The ground beneath me turned to warm sand, and the air filled with the scent of blooming desert flowers. Fireflies, or maybe tiny glowing spirits, floated lazily, casting a gentle light on our tea party. A chorus of crickets joined in, adding a soundtrack to the gathering. At one point, the agave challenged me to a dance-off. Imagine a human attempting to match the smooth, graceful swaying of a plant. Let's just say it was awkward but hilarious. I ended up on the ground laughing, the plants cheering me on with rustles and jingles. Then, just as suddenly as it started, the music faded, the plants returned to their usual stillness, and the table disappeared. I found myself back on my lawn, the sun beginning to set. The plants looked ordinary again, but I swear the prickly pear gave me a wink with its brightest fruit. That night, lying in bed, I realized the trip wasn't just about seeing colors or hearing sounds. It was about connection to nature, to whimsy, and to the unexpected friendships that can sprout when you least expect them. The cacti had invited me into their world, and for a few magical hours, I was their honored guest at a desert tea party. I still chuckle thinking about that day. The day my backyard plants threw the most surreal tea party of all time, complete with jokes, jazz, and dancing cacti. If anyone ever doubts the weirdness of Mescaline, just remind them. Sometimes the prickliest things can have the warmest hearts.